Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Monday. I hope you were good to your mamas on Mother's Day. And were sweet, made them dinner or breakfast or lunch, did the dishes, didn't give them a hard time. My children were very sweet to me, so I hope you were sweet to your moms. Speaking of moms, so we're reading Breakout, and remember that Nora was grounded because she didn't come straight home after going running with Lizzie and Elodie. Instead, they went to Elodie's house. Um, so we're going to start on page 279, and it's text messages between Nora and her mom. Saturday, June 15th, text messages between Nora and her mom. Mom, where are you? Nora, just finished running. Mom, Sean texted and said you were done an hour ago. Nora, we're just hanging out. I'll come home now. Mom, where are you right now? Nora, Elodie's house. Mom, address. Nora, 15 Porter Street. Mom, stay there. I'm coming to pick you up. Saturday, June 15th. Letter from Nora Tucker. Dear future Wolf Creek residents, so here's the rest of the deal. Mom picked me up and smiled and told Mrs. Jones it was nice of her to have us over, as if she'd never said I couldn't go. Then we left, and Mom dropped Lizzie off at her house and headed for home. I could tell she was mad, but I was waiting for her to yell. But she didn't say anything, so I looked out the window and thought about Elodie's house. The living room table was full of pictures in little frames. Elodie said they were her cousins, Emmy and Brian and Cecilia and Marcus, and her Aunt Maya and Uncle Joe. Then I picked up a picture of a skinny teenage boy and a younger girl who looked just like Elodie. I asked if they were her cousins too, and Elodie said no. That was her and Troy back when he was 14 and she was 7. Before he got in trouble. Elodie didn't say that, I just thought it in my head. In the photo, he looks like such a good brother, laughing with his arm around her. He looked nice. Elodie must have thought so too, because she poked her finger at Troy's blue and yellow striped polo in the photo, as if she could reach back and touch the way he was before. I bet Elodie wishes she could take herself back in time too. Back to New York City. She seems homesick. And you know what? I've lived in Wolf Creek my whole life, so I can't imagine not feeling at home here, but it's weird. We talk all the time about being a friendly, welcoming community, but Elodie doesn't see us that way at all. And if people don't feel welcome, then maybe we're not as welcoming as we think. That's part of why I went to Elodie's house. I didn't want to be like Mrs. Jablansky or Mrs. Roy or the people who whisper about Elodie at school. It didn't work out that way, the way I thought it would, though. When Mom and I got home, she finally let me have it. She was all, "What were you thinking? And how dare you go over there when I told you not to?" I had answers to all her questions, but when Mom is mad, there's no right answer. So I kept quiet. And now I'm grounded in my room, which is kind of pointless, actually, since those inmates got out. Being grounded isn't much different from not being grounded. Except that Lizzie and Elodie and I were going to get together again tomorrow to practice our relay handoffs. Then Lizzie and I were going to bake cookies to give to the police for with our research letter. But one of those is kind of a school-related activity and one is totally community service. So I'm hoping we'll get to do them anyway. Once Mom calms down, I'll ask about it. Can you have a petition if there's only one person to sign it? Your friend from the past, Nora Tucker. Saturday, June 15th. Petition from Nora Tucker. Petition for redress submitted to Mom from Nora, June 15th, 7:40 p.m. Dear Mom, civil obedience is a well-respected strategy for protesting unjust rules and laws, like when black people sat at the whites-only lunch counters during the civil rights movement and refused to leave. We talked about this in social studies. Those protesters knew the lunch counter law was stupid and unfair, so they broke it. It was a leadership moment for them. My decision to go to Elodie's house also falls under the category of civil disobedience because I felt like your rule about me not going there was unfair. You've never cared if I went to a friend's house before, even a new friend. It never mattered who they were or where they lived. You always just called the mom and found out an adult would be home and then it was fine. So how come it wasn't fine with Elodie? You didn't say whether you were making that different rule for her because she's black or because her brother is in prison or because she's new. But I don't believe any of those reasons are good ones. As a result, I was compelled to break the rule and do what I felt was right. I was engaging in civil disobedience just like Henry David Thoreau, Mahatma Gandhi, and Martin Luther King Jr., but only on a slightly smaller scale. Therefore, we, the undersigned, call on you to reconsider your decision to punish me for making this choice. Please cancel my grounding, because let's face it, there isn't much I'm allowed to do right now anyway. Or at the very least, make an exception so Lizzie and Elodie and I can practice our baton handoffs tomorrow, and so Lizzie and I can get the stuff we need to make cookies for the searchers like you said we could. Signed, Nora Tucker. Saturday, June 15th. Letter from Elodie to her brother Troy. Dear Troy, those girls came over today. It went okay, except when Mama decided to kiss my head like I was 5 years old and announced to everybody that she loves me to who knows what galaxy and back. You better hope she never does that to you in front of the prison guys. After Mama went upstairs, Nora and Lizzie saw that picture of you and me. You know which one I mean. You were all scrawny and you had on that too big striped shirt. I think it was from Grandmama's birthday cookout, early in the day before we were all wet. Remember how we had all those water balloons after supper? You thought you were so smart hiding them behind the building. Only then the little cousins found your stash and absolutely soaked you. Remember that? When I looked at that picture today, I could almost hear your voice back when it was starting to get deep, but still squeaked and squawked sometimes. You were already starting to hang out around those guys, but we didn't know it yet, Mama and me. We didn't see you changing until it was too late. It was that fast, seems it anyway. When we used to come from the Bronx to visit you before everything got locked down, we never talked about what happened. Anytime Mama asked, you said it wasn't worth talking about because if we weren't there on the street that day, we could never understand. So eventually she gave up and stopped asking. People ask me sometimes. These two boys at school are always bugging me, and I bet they'd be surprised to know the truth. That I'm not even sure I know what happened, what the truth is. You say you didn't have a choice, but you did. Maybe not at the very end, the way you saw it, but I'm talking about before. We always have choices. Doesn't feel that way, but we always do. Even when we feel so stuck, we pretend we don't. Love, Elodie. P.S. I meant to tell you I went running with those girls before we had Mama's cookies, and it was the best part of my day. After the incident, it was anyway. It was just a little while after we started. We had to pile into Nora's brother's car because the police were all over this guy down by the river. They thought it was one of the inmates, but it was actually one of the corrections officers out for a run. They were pointing guns all around at him. He didn't look anything like that escapee on the news, but you know how white cops are with telling black people apart. They figured it out pretty quick, so he didn't get hurt, which is good. Nora said his kid goes to our school. I don't know what that guy was thinking, going for a run with this going on. Mama would have lectured you up one side and down the other if you did that. The other bad part of the afternoon was when I made a mistake and told Nora why I didn't want to wear the thank you police ribbon. She didn't get it even a little, and I just couldn't deal anymore. She'd already gone off on how safe it must have been for me back home because of gangs roaming the streets, like we lived with in some Spike Lee movie or something. Mama was so excited about me making friends here, but she never told me that with white friends, you have to keep teaching them how not to be racist. Anyway, after all that was over, we got to finish our run. It wasn't like running at the park at home, but it was pretty sweet, and I felt a whole lot better at the end. Running today felt like flying instead of feeling stuck in one spot. Writing's starting to make me feel that way too. Here's another learning from Lin-Manuel. Rap. It's based on History Has Its Eyes on You. If you ever get the chance to hear the Hamilton soundtrack, you should check that one out. Late at night when it's all dark, I see a man in the trees surrounded, blue shirts pouring into the park, guns drawn, circled all around him. He holds his hands to the sky, and I hear Mama's prayers for me, lifting me way up high to a future waiting there for me. Let me tell you now what I know about this place where I don't belong. You don't have to be home to grow, and my anger's making me strong. I found my voice. in this town that don't care for me, and I'll take my choice of futures waiting there for me. P.P.S. Mama has the rest of the day off too, so we're going to pick strawberries now. I wish we could bring you some.